In the first video that I showcased METALITE, we did get a basis of understanding for the band, especially perhaps if you're someone like me who this was a first introduction for. We got a good insight in terms of the styling and the energy. But as I've said before many times in regards to METALITE, my point of origin was with Erika Olsen as a singer, in particular because of the collaboration that she was featured on with Mortimia. Big fan of him if you've never heard of him. He's Norwegian one-man gothic symphonic metal artist heralding from Sirenia, although Mortimia is his solo side project. And his collaborative model introduced me to the vocal talents of Erika Olsen, who I guess, and I'm not an expert in terms of METALITE's history, this is very much a first impression I'm getting with them, I haven't dug deeper. I think she came on the band's later tenure through Biomechanicals, at least in that time frame, because the singer we saw showcased, while she was great in terms of Afterlife, that was not Erika Olsen. She was the point that brought me in terms of attention of the group by name. And while I thought, again, like I said, the first singer did a great job of Afterlife, and Afterlife is a great song, this is going to be more directed again in why I found out about METALITE in the first place. I've been really eager to spotlight them for a long time, given my first impression of Erika Olsen through Lost Horizon was a very beautiful one. She's got a powerful range to her voice. I was quite impressed with her, and that track still is one of my favorites. Enough so much that I've done this on rare occasion. I've talked about this before in conjunction of METALITE, but I don't buy music, at least in full album issues, outright that often. It's rare that I've done that, and I've focused on it for, in particular, two groups, METALITE and Ad Infinitum, because the introductions with Mortimia's work were so strong. On faith, I can say that Afterlife satisfied, my purchase, and I had a good, inclination in regard to why I purchased their song in the first place, and I can say that my purchase was worth it. And I definitely want to expand again, like I said, beyond just that foundational piece into METALITE's current stature. Far from the Sanctuary should do that. This was, again, their second release off of Biomechanicals. Well, I'm not saying second track in focus, but the second release in full, Biomechanicals, is a subsequent album. I'm very excited to hear more from them, though. And like I've said, music for me, I've been trying to get a lot of first introductions in the realm of what I've covered on this channel as I broaden the presence of music to a greater extent. It's been a long ambition of mine, and it's definitely working well as I proceed into the 2023 year. This worked of 2022, and as far as the new year is concerned, it's going to be a fun ride in regards to first introductions. And I hope for some of you, this is also the same boat at which you're approaching METALITE. Maybe some of you are established fans. You've known the group for a long time. But I'm assuming for some of you, based on my social circle, this is going to be a first introduction. I don't know how recognizable their line is, not to speak anyway in a judgment of quality, but just because in terms of the people that I'm around, most of the names that I bring up in terms of European talent are treated with an obscure lens. Hopefully, you'll get a good first impression like I had with METALITE in the beginning. Again, that first track I listened to was quite dynamic. I liked the the electronic side to their music, which I'm very selective on in terms of taste. But the rock basis, the vision of the lyrics, the singing talents, I thought it spoke quite well of the group. Let's add Far From the Sanctuary to my library of familiarity and perhaps yours. And for those of you who are not familiar with the way I format my videos, I'm going to bring up the video in a second that accompanies said track, and we'll get a first impression that way. But if you'd like to read along with the message of the piece, I do try and mesh audience tastes individually with the way I format my videos. So I will incorporate the lyrics into the feed, and they will proceed with the track as we go through. You'll see them in the video itself. All right, if you'd like to read along with the message. Without further ado, here we go. Or if you don't, I guess you can just focus on the video, which will also be popping up now. Again, good first impression, but let's move forward. Good opening. I like the step pattern, it's gradual. Simple, but good emphasis. Very engaging. If you haven't heard her before, you ready to hear her sing? Erika Olsen is a powerful vocalist, in my opinion. Easily memorable. I really like the classic rock vibe. This is great. Fun entranceway. I can distinctly hear that Swedish accent in the background. It's a very rich vocal pattern from what she's produced. I like the atmosphere to this piece. A lot of it has to do with her voice, but again, that electronic side, it's more subtle with their music, but it's nicely integrated. Makes for very smooth tracks. Great vocals. Beautiful. Right off of Lost Horizon, it's just right in line with that. I knew it'd be great. Great choruses, beautiful structure. I am getting distracted in terms of the song's tune. I'm trying to kind of follow along with the storyline of the piece. Shadowgate's a good illustration. I kind of like that in terms of visual image. Smooth breakdown again. I love there's just little smooth accompaniments of electronic warbles. It's great. It's not too disruptive or too distracting. It's perfectly meshing. Even a guitar solo to boot. Good pause. Engaging pacing, but keeps that momentum alive. I like that. Great visualizing the boot. We got some hair whips in there. That's beautiful. I like how there's a diversified emphasis in her voice, especially in that transition to getting back into the piece. That's great. Strategic. It's just a wonderful flow. Let it linger in the background, sustain that note. It's great. Wonderful flow to that piece. And as I said, that is closer to METALITE in the present day than Afterlife was. So that's, again, more of an approximate. Now, they have released another album that I will spotlight in part of some of the... I'm judging by the music. This is how I'm covering a lot of their tracks in terms of the selection. So we will get to the current album, that being A Virtual World. I like the cover for that one, too. This one was great. Effective rock pacing. Like I told you, though, if you never had a first introduction, maybe you didn't through Mortemia, I'd highly recommend Lost Horizon if you haven't heard it yet, as well as any of his other works. Mortemia is just such a gifted musician. But that's where, again, I judged Erica Olsen's talents from. And she had such a dynamic range on that piece. Like I said, she's got a powerful voice. You can certainly hear that when she sings. Like, she naturally just belts out a note, and it sounds so symphonic and engaging to listen to. And here, I love the varied pacing to her voice, and certain part varied emphasis as well. She plays onto the soft energy. It's much more like a delicate delivery, and then maybe it becomes more emphatic, if the song needs to be directed that way. Like, I noticed that as far as the last iteration of the chorus, when she's going back from the guitar solo, it was a good choice. And the song in itself is constructed very well. Again, it's got a good rock basis, very engaging. As I've also said in regards to Swedish talent, it's interesting for me to see such an emphasis, and I wonder if it is a staple in particular to that country, in regards to rock artists, if there's a heavy emphasis and integration of electronic beats, or if it's just some surprising coincidence among many of the groups I've spotlighted. Let's say, for example, been long favorites of mine or established artists I've found for this channel, in consideration of other groups in the Swedish scene. Dead by April, Fall of a Cipher, both use electronics in their music to varying degrees. Like, each group feels specific. METALITE, I would say, is a good middle ground, between the two, whereas Dead by April relies more on the metal side, and the electronic stuff it adds a dimension to the piece. It's rather unique, but it is very tailored in principle, and the music is put first, front and center. Whereas Fall of a Cypher and Opposition, and both are great, by the way, both are fabulous groups in respect of one another in talent. Fall of a Cypher, it's much more emphasized in regards to the electronic vein. This is sort of like kind of, in the middle ground, right? It floats around between, you've got the balance of the melody versus softer electronic interludes that kind of just fade in, fade out, and they're sporadically placed in the song, but they mesh well. Like, there's a feeling of integration in a way, for me, that doesn't feel a bit disruptive. And the way I judge electronic music, it is on a selective basis. You have to have that extra dimension. Otherwise, I don't want it to be much of an obstruction in the way that the tune comes off. And also, if it just seems like a bunch of strung out noises, it just doesn't appeal to me. It has to have that tune structure and body to it. And I think Far From the Sanctuary is a great fit. Again, like I said, I really wanted to be able to judge Erica Olsen's talents in principle as she's taken over for the group, and she's a wonderful vocalist, really is. Even if, again, maybe perhaps METALITE is a more obscure name. I judge by my circles. Again, most people don't know half the groups I bring up, especially when it comes to Europe. It's like nearly 100%. I'm sure METALITE will not be, it'll be a first exposure by the time I bring them up in regards to their talents specifically. And maybe for some of you that was the case as well. I mean, even, I did get distracted admittedly by the tune. I mean, it's very engaging, so I was kind of trying to follow along with the story of the piece. It's very visual, and like Castle Made of Gold, Shadowgate, I love the illustration. It's a journey that maybe I'll have to ponder a bit more again when I'm not so distracted by the piece. But, I quite liked it. Again, it tracks very well. For someone like me who gravitates more into the rock and metal scene, it's a, quick compulsion for me to listen. I'd love to hear if that's the same feeling you experienced down below with METALITE, if this was a first impression for you, or if you're a longtime fan. I'm open to either perspective in regards to, should you want to disclose your perspective, I'd love to hear your background and how you enjoy this piece. I think it's great, and like I said, I got a whole bunch of tracks lined up in regard to METALITE. We're going to be taking a deeper dive with them, even from some of their recent endeavors, but I think Far From the Sanctuary was the first good introduction to Biomechanicals. Again, that's the album this is coming off of, but it's a beautiful tune from METALITE. And judging Erica Olsen's presence in the group now, having seen it, there's a natural fit as to why I feel that she worked very well with Mortimia. And I quite liked hearing her here. She's, again, a very dynamic talent. And METALITE, generally, I really like them. They're a very enjoyable rock group. Thank you so much for watching this video. Before you bounce, feel free to drop a like and comment, subscribe to this channel with a ding on the bell, and share this video with your friends. And consider checking out the description here. There you'll find links to my other channels, as well as addresses to my other social media accounts and ways you can help support my work if you feel so inclined. May God bless you, and looking forward to when our paths cross again.